Hi folks, this is Magpie265 and welcome back to Ballyspring, where we are going through the years on Farm Simulator. Now unfortunately for this episode and the following one, whilst recording I did not check that the microphone was turned on. Therefore we have no voiceover during the recording, there is only the gameplay audio. So I am recording this in edit just to make sure there is a little bit of voiceover for the episode. As such, I'm probably going to skip through a lot of this. Conversation that was happening quite naturally during gameplay obviously won't, because I'm just sat here at my desk talking about it. And I also can't remember half of what I was saying whilst I was playing. So I'm going to try and keep the audio to a minimum. We will probably time-lapse an awful lot. I will make a couple comments as and when I feel it's necessary. But other than that, I can only apologise. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. I would re-record the episodes, but obviously, as I'm sure you know, with Farm Simulator, I can't really undo the changes that I've made. So I either skip everything that I've done in these two episodes and just start again, do an episode 3 from where I am at the end of episode 4, and then you folks have missed out on 2 episodes worth of changes on the farm. Or we do it this way. So I think this is probably the better of the options. It's the lesser of two evils, as they say. So we'll just get on with it. Now, first of all, I'm just doing a little bit of map editing here, just a little softening of the ground, because as you probably just saw in that little brief bit of the video whilst I was doing the intro, every time I hit that ridge where it goes from the dirt ground to the sort of concrete path, it seems to kick the tractor over to the left into the fence. So all I'm just doing at this point is just editing that through and just trying to make that a little bit softer so that it doesn't throw us off quite as much. I will just jump back in the tractor now and give that a little check and see how we go, and I think that is probably about the best we're going to get it, so it'll be good enough for the time being, and we will head on up to the arable fields that we were dealing with in the last episode, because both of them do need rolling. So we will head on up there, and I will probably set that onto a time lapse. I was doing the headland first. I had a little bit of conversation whilst I was doing that, but I think this time we'll just put the whole thing on a time lapse. It is quite difficult doing this voiceover to go with the recording that's already been done, because I don't really know what's coming as such. So trying to discuss it in real time but not in real time, it's very complicated, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. So just please bear with me on these 2 episodes and we will get through them. There are some significant changes to the farm over the 2 of them, so we kind of do need to address those, and you do need to see what's happening, otherwise we're going to feel very disjointed and very lost. But we will just get through it as best we can. So it's not actually that bad, this little roller. I think given the year that we're in and what we have available to us, it's holding its own. It's not bad at all. It wasn't that painful to get that field done. We got through it relatively well. It's about as big as we could ask for at the minute. I mean, this is a small country map. It's not like one of the bigger American maps, and you know, getting things up and down these paths and these tracks in this field, you know, isn't that simple if you have large equipment. So for what we've got available to us, I'm pretty happy with this. We have got another field to do, which we are just starting with now, so I will pop this back on another little time lapse and we will crack on through this one. And that is this field just about done. Like I just said, I am pretty happy with this little roller. I think it's doing the job relatively well. We are getting through the fields quickly, definitely compared to some of the other jobs we did, like the stone picking, for instance. That took a long old time. This is getting us by pretty well. So we're just having a quick look on the map now, and just to make sure that we haven't missed any large sections. There are a couple little bits of blue on there, but if I remember rightly, I decided just to let that go. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not a job that needs 100% coverage. You know, the field is rolled and we can call it a day on that one. It is getting pretty late in the day, so we will be taking this back down to the farm now, and I think we're going to give the tractor a bit of a wash off, because that is definitely looking dirty now. It's done a lot of work in the last couple of days, and I think it could do with a good clean. So we will take this back down to the yard and we will get it parked up and we will wash off our equipment and we will go from there. So we'll just give our tractor a bit of a wash off, and we'll probably do the rest of the equipment while we're at it. We have used near enough everything, I think, in this shed now, so we might as well get it all cleaned off. In case anyone hasn't seen this mod before, this is the American Farm Hose, I think it's called. It is available on Mod Hub. All of the mods that I'm using in this series are on Mod Hub. I be honest, I can't remember who it's by. There are so many mods involved in this series that I can't possibly remember all of them. But it is available if you do like it. And the reason I've gone for this mod is because it does the same job as the pressure washers do, but one, it's cheaper, and with the budgets we're working with, we can't afford to be spending a couple thousand on a pressure washer. But also it feels more befitting of the era. Maybe we will look at upgrading to a pressure washer as we get a bit more modern, but I think for back in 1967, a garden hose with a sprayer on the end is probably about right. So we will get the roller and the rest of the equipment washed off here, and then we will see what's next. So with the equipment all cleaned off, I did just bring up the map, and I know at this point I was talking through the plan for the various fields. I actually can't remember what the plan was for the various fields. The plan does change throughout the next couple episodes, so we'll just have a look at a brief overview. I'm pointing at the road at this point. No idea why. I think I'm discussing the farmable land that we have available to us, the sort of size and scale of it, saying there that number 253 is quite a large field, whereas these ones here, 243, 44, 45, 46, 47 and 52 are smaller fields. And I think I was just explaining that we were going to start with those fields. Now it's very late in the day, it's going to be getting too dark to be doing any farming at the minute, so this is going to start over in the next day, and we're going to try and get through those top fields first. Now 245 leads through to 244. I think I'm just pointing there to where the little pathway is, how you get through to 245 and then you go through to 244, and then the same for 247 and 246. 243, the one I'm just pointing at now, is accessed from that road, so it's sort of a standalone field. So I will be starting, and 253 is accessed there. You go, there's like a little path runs from our yard between 252 and 253, and then we go up that way. You can see we access 254 from the yard, and if I move my mouse again a sec so I know where I'm going with this. No, I'm going to look at the different ground. Okay, so I am going to just say that 245 and 44 are going to be the first ones that we look at, and then 247 and 246 will be the next two fields that we address. As of yet, I don't quite know what we're doing with the top fields, or the fields on the right hand side that are sort of up the hill of the farm. I do know we want to leave some of the larger ones for grass. We need to keep some of the silage going. We've got that silage pit that we need to get going on, which we will start filling very soon, because the first step is going to be cutting the grass out of these fields before we can in turn plough them or cultivate them and then get a crop in them. So we'll hop in the tractor now and we are going to take it over. I'm not entirely sure where we're taking over at this point. I think I might have just decided to try and get some mowing done before we lose the light, so I am going to couple up to the mower now, slowly. I think at this point I am still using the steering wheel and I am struggling with it. Now, it's difficult because obviously I'm recording this audio after I've already recorded the gameplay, so trying to remember exactly where things are, especially because I recorded this gameplay last week. As I've explained, the way my shift patterns work is I have 4 days off where I can do my recording and editing, and then 4 days where I am working 12-hour shifts and back in work. So those 4 days have passed. I also had a day or two last week where I had some things on. I had a christening to go to, and a couple bits, so it has been probably about a week, about 7, maybe even 8 days since I recorded these, so I can't 100% remember at what stage things happen, especially certain changes that I've made. I do know I have stopped using the steering wheel for Farming Simulator, at least for the time being. I was just finding it a little too tricky to use. I definitely wasn't getting used to it. I'm not overly impressed with it, if I'm honest. It isn't a top of the line steering wheel, I will give it that. Okay, it is a relatively budget model, but it's not a cheap one either. It's by a known brand. I won't name any names because I don't know where I stand with naming brands on YouTube and things like that. I've just not been doing it long enough to know how those things work. But it's a known brand. You would know it if I said it. But it is probably the cheaper end of their options, and I'm just not getting away with it. There's like a dead spot. I think I've mentioned that on the previous video at the top, where you have to turn past it, but then you have to turn not just back to center, but you have to go back past the other way to straighten it up, and it's just very unresponsive, and I'm not finding it very suitable. I'm just not getting away with it personally. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that love the steering wheels for them, and maybe you've got better steering wheels than I have. Maybe that's part of it, or maybe it's just me. But I'm definitely better off with a controller, and I think for recording purposes, for giving you folks the best video that I can, I think sticking to a controller is going to be the right option. Now, I know I haven't changed at the minute because I can still see the controls in the top left that are giving me keyboard controls. When I do change over from the steering wheel to the controller, that will then swap and we will be getting controller controls, like gamepad controls. So we will know when it's happened. It is coming soon, but if the driving's still a little bit off at the minute, then that's why. Now, I have started off coming clockwise in this field and then realised that the way that the mower is orientated, I am better off going anti-clockwise, just to get that right hand edge and follow that all the way around. Otherwise I would leave a gap like I did going the other way. So I'm just heading round to do the headland now, and it's not a bad mower, to be honest. It does the job. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It doesn't have the greatest working width. It's okay. I think normally I'd probably be quite happy with it on a smaller field like this, but as we're about to see, this field just takes such a long time to do, and it is only a small field, and then I have another field to get done, and there are just some time constraints that I have to deal with here. This is the 3rd of September now, so after this night we will be going into the 1st of October, which is our last month, I believe, to get arables planted. I don't think that's entirely true. I think there might be another month after that where I can plant oats. I think I do discuss that later on in the video, but seeing as we're recording the audio afterwards, we might as well just talk about it whenever we feel like it. So I do think we have October to get the likes of barley, wheat, canola, possibly sorghum planted, and then oats. I believe it's oats we can plant in November. But we have a lot of fields that we have to cover, and in order to plant them, first we have to cut them, then we have to windrow them, then we have to collect the grass and deposit it into the silage pit, then we have to come back over and cultivate the land, then we have to plant it, then we have to fertilize it, lime it and roll it. It's a lot of work, and we have very, very little time. So the conversation I'm having at the time of recording right now is whether or not this mower is going to be up to scratch, and the long story short is the conclusion I come to is no. I don't actually change it in this episode. It will be the start of the next episode when we get a change, but I know I was discussing it at this point, and there is a nice little zero turn mower available that is within the Through the Years mod. It complies with all the rules, and it's just a little bit faster. It's the same working width, I believe, but it does move a lot quicker, and more importantly, it has a side ejection for the grass, which means as I go round, if I go clockwise on the first trip and then anti-clockwise on the second, I eject the grass onto the same point, and I essentially create windrows as I mow, which cuts out an entire step. So spoilers, we will be changing to that by the next episode, but for now we are sticking with this one. I'm going to go ahead and pop this onto a time lapse now, and we will head through because there is quite a lot to do. There is all of this field to do, and then we cut the other one, and I believe I get them windrowed and collected in this episode as well. So this is definitely going to be a shorter episode than our regular ones, which is probably a good thing because I actually think they've been running on a little too long. Maybe I'm just not shutting up enough whilst I'm recording. But we'll get this on a time lapse now. We'll get this through a little bit quicker, and I will see you once it's done. Okay, so we have got the field cut, but it is far too dark. I mean, it was probably too dark really to do that as a time lapse. I maybe should have just cut that out, but we will go ahead and sleep on through to morning, because it is just far too dark to get anything done. This is just me taking the tractor back to the yard. Nothing you're going to be missing out on, and I will see you in the early hours. And there we have it. We are on to the morning of October 1st, and I believe I have now changed from the steering wheel to the controller, so hopefully you will start to see a little bit better driving going forward. So we're going to hop back in the tractor now, and I believe we're going to couple up to our windrower. No, apparently we're not. Making a liar out of myself here. No idea where we're going. We'll go into the field, but we've got nothing attached, so God knows what we're trying to do. Have we just realised that we have nothing attached? I believe we have. I believe we have set off to the field with no implement attached to the tractor. So I probably intended to cut this out. But oh well, this at least you get to see like the uncut, unedited version of my stupidity. So coupled up to the mower, I think I must have been deciding to do the other field as well and then go back and windrow it all together. So this will be us heading down to the other field that is attached to this one that we get back through. There is a little bit of growth from this field now because we have passed on to a new month, but nothing that we'll worry ourselves about. I just think I just had a quick look around just to make sure I hadn't missed too much grass, but I think that's fine, to be honest. Just going to hold there for some unknown reason, and we'll head on through. This is the other field that attaches. Now the only way into this field is through that gate, which just connects to the previous one, which is why we're doing them together, and when we come to plant them we will harvest them and everything together as well. So we will just go ahead and get this one cut, and I will put this one on a time lapse as well. like I say, this mower hasn't been too bad. I can't be too negative on it. I know we do change it, but it's not a bad mower, especially for 1967. I think, you know, realistically, it does what we need it to do. It does it at a reasonable pace. I think I'm being a little bit hasty in changing it. I do love the zero turn that we do change to, and I think it is good and it suits the farm. But there was nothing wrong with this mower either. I think I've been a bit harsh on it, but it is what it is. We have changed it. I think that is the last time we use it. I don't think it gets used on the next field that we mow. So we will go up to the yard now and we will put this away, potentially, I believe, for the last time. And the next job will be to get out our, I think it's a Pottinger windrower that we have. We will couple up to that and we will start to row these fields up. There is a lot of grass to be getting on with, but as you can see from the time already, it's nearly 11 o'clock and we've only just cut that one field, so it is definitely not the fastest mower we could use. And that is the main motivation for changing it, is just we have so many fields. I mean, just looking at that mini map there, we've got what, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, there's 11 that I can just about see on there, and I think there is a bit more grass than that. In fact, no, there's 11. I think we have 13 fields altogether, and 2 of them we have arable. So there is 11 fields, 2 of which we have done. So that leaves us with 9 that still need cutting, and we are at 11 o'clock in the morning on October 1st. So we still haven't got these windrowed or collected yet. So you can see how a quicker solution is desirable at this point. I know, okay, realistically we're not going to get it all done, and definitely not as much as we probably will in the next year when we have a little bit more time to work at it. And I know we don't have to get all of them done by November because we're not planting arable crops in all of them. Some of them are going to remain grass, so the ones that are remaining grass we don't have to get done by the deadline. We're not looking to put crops in, so we have no fixed time that we need to have them ready for. But every month that goes past where we are not getting them cut and windrowed and collected is wasted growth, because they're not going to grow any more than what they are, but they would be if we get them cut. So speed is definitely our friend at the minute, and with this being pretty much the only source of income we're going to have on the farm for, well, nearly 12 months. I mean, well, not quite 12 months, probably 8 months or so, until our arable crops are ready to harvest. All we've got is this silage that we're going to be getting from this grass. We need to get that silage pit loaded up. We need to get it fermenting so that we do have some money coming in, because that 4,200 is going to drop pretty quickly because, well, I have to buy a zero turn mower. And okay, we do get to resell our mower and we do sell the windrower because we won't need that anymore. But it is an expensive mower, so we are going to find ourselves with a little less money than what we do at the minute. So we definitely need that income coming. So again, I can only apologise, folks, but I'm going to have to pop this on another time lapse because you don't want me just sat here waffling. It is a little different when I'm just sat talking about it than when I'm playing and things are coming up that we can discuss. But it isn't great. I appreciate this is not going to be the best video, and the next one is going to be the same. But it is what it is. There's not a lot I can do about it now. We'll just have to try and double down on the next couple episodes and make sure they're even better for you. So I'll pop this on another time lapse, and I'll see you at the end of it. And that is our 2 fields windrowed. So we will take this little windrower back up to the yard, park it back up in the barn, and I believe we will couple up to our forage wagon next, and we will finally get this grass collected out of this field, which will be the grass finally dealt with, and we can then go ahead and start prepping the ground for our arable crop. I can't remember what we've planted in it. I believe we have canola in the first 2 fields. I think I went barley. Pretty sure I went for barley. Yeah, I believe I did. So we will get the grass collected up. Now this does take quite a while in this little forage wagon. I will just come round and couple up to it so you can see it, because this is the first time we have used it. And to be honest, it's a decent little forage wagon. It's not bad. It's just lacks a little bit in capacity. I think a bigger one would be a struggle on this farm though. I do struggle a little bit, as you were about to see, in getting it round the corner. I believe I take this just a little too narrow. I don't think I quite factor how big the forage wagon is on the back. I just turn the corner and there we go. That's me stuck on the wall. So I will get myself unstuck. I will get into the field and we will have a look at it in action. So I did manage to get it unstuck eventually. I'll just get that gate closed and we will get going on picking up these rows. Now, as you see, it will fill quickly. I mean, we are flying up there. We are 15%, 20%. You know, we're barely making a dent in this field. It takes a lot of trips backwards and forwards, and to be honest, these are 2 of the smaller fields that we have. The rest of them, really, with the exception of the other 2 in the sort of bottom left corner of the map, or of our part of the map at least. I can't remember the numbers. I think it's 44 and 45 or something, but the bottom 2 anyway, the ones that we're doing next, they are the smallest we have. But other than those, the rest of them are just bigger, and we are already full. Did we get, what, halfway round? Would you say that? I think we're probably lucky if we did. Maybe just over, a little over halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way, and we are full. So scale is definitely an issue, and if you have a look at the clock, we are at 1:30 near enough, and it was 11 o'clock when we started the windrowing, so it did take us almost 2 hours. I mean, obviously a little bit of time with coupling up to this and starting that, but over 2, nearly 2.5 hours to windrow the 2 fields, and I believe we have 9 more, so even at that rate we would still have another probably 5 hours worth of windrowing. Like I say, most of them are bigger, so probably more like 6 hours of windrowing worth. It's half a day just in the windrowing. So we definitely need to look at a solution for making that quicker, and indeed we do. But I will cut this a little bit. I'm not going to time lapse it because it's just a lot of backwards and forwards and circles. It's not overly interesting, but I'll cut it a little bit. You can kind of see how many loads I put into this silage pit, and then we'll get cracking on actually turning the fields into usable arable land. That is 3 loads so far into the silage pit, but I did run low on diesel, and I came to fill up in the yard from our little diesel tank, only to realise that it does not have a pump. You will notice a little bit of a pattern through this episode and the next, in that it is just one screw up after another, basically, between not having the microphone, not realising that the diesel has no pump, and then I have to fit a diesel pump to the yard. Also, the start of the next episode, I recorded away for probably 20 minutes before realising that I hadn't actually clicked record. And I still didn't realise that the microphone wasn't turned on, even though I had to go back in and reset the recording going again. So, yeah, it wasn't a great 2 episodes from me, to be honest. I dropped the ball. Alright, it happens. But we now have a diesel tank on the farm. We have our little container that we can ship backwards and forwards to the petrol station. We can get that filled up, and then we bring that back and we put that into the diesel tank. Don't ask me how we can get it from the tanker container, I mean tanker is a very generous term, the container into the tank without a pump when we can't get it into our tractor, because I don't know the answer to that. But we are able to, somehow we can get it from the container to the tank, and then the tank to the tractor. That is the process that we are going to have to follow, because it's the only way it works. Now, I didn't pay for that out of the farm budget, because I probably should have seen that coming in the setup of the farm, and if I had, I would have already put that on. It would have just been included, so I have not factored that in. That is a mistake of mine in the setup. It's now corrected, and we will move on from here and carry on with our grass. This is our last load of grass from those 2 fields, so it's not a full load. We have 55% in this one. If anyone was counting along, which I wasn't, but I think this is about 9, possibly 10 loads that we've had out of those 2 fields. And one thing we have not considered is any form of silo compaction. I don't think we have anything available to us in terms of anything specifically for the job, so we're probably just going to have to drive the tractor over it a couple times and hope that the game isn't overly fussy on the weight and size of the tyres and things like that. I'm sure it'll be fine. It might just take a little bit longer to compact down than it would using a roller. I don't think we can use our normal roller, like our field roller. I think you have to have a specific silo roller, but I'm not entirely sure on that, to be honest. I mean, it is a game at the end of the day. Maybe things work when they shouldn't. We'll find out when we come to it. We have got a few more fields worth of grass to fit into that yet anyway, so it's not the most pressing of concerns. it's definitely something we can worry about at a later date. So I think this is probably a good time to end it. I do apologise again for it not being the best of episodes, but at least we have got a fair load. Is that 89,000 litres? I can't quite read it on my little display here, but it's a fair amount of grass in. We've got some work done. I'm sorry it wasn't the best episode, folks, but thank you so much for joining me anyway. Please maybe click that like button if you enjoyed it. I mean, I doubt you did, but I would appreciate it if you did. And more importantly, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. It does wonders for the channel and helps me get these videos seen. So I'd be so grateful to you if you could. Thanks again, and I will see you at the next episode, which again won't be the best, but it will be the last one like that, I promise. Thanks for watching. See you next time.